What's going on, everyone? So reports have came out that Ben Simmons is very close to returning to the court, and you've heard a lot of the Nets guys come out and defend Ben Simmons and talk about how important of a piece he is, and I really do think he is, right? If Ben Simmons can get back to Philadelphia, Ben Simmons, the Brooklyn Nets might actually be like a dark horse, right? Like, I mean, they are flushed with young talent. They are big and have great size, great length. And with Ben Simmons and what he provides as like that just ridiculous 6'10" type point guard that can handle the ball and make plays and also defend basically 1 through 5 if you need him to. He's got good size and good weight at 240. Like, he is a unique specimen. Elite defensive level, doesn't really give you much of an offensive game, but if you have the right pieces around him, you can have success. And then on top of that, him as like your point guard, I think the Brooklyn Nets with their roster and the guys that they have, I really do think could be a dark horse. Now, they do still need that star, right? But we've seen teams just by committee have success. I mean, like the Detroit Pistons are a great example, right? Like Detroit, they were just a well-oiled, just complementary machine. They just had all the pieces that fit together perfectly. Everyone knew their role. Everyone understood their role. They played the super stacked Lakers, Gary Payton and Carmelo and Shaq and all that stuff. And, you know, Kobe, of course. And you end up running into that, and the Lakers looked like they were just going to steamroll them, and they ended up getting beat. So, you know, chemistry, cohesiveness, just the understanding of one's roles and stuff like that can have a real impact. And it's not like the Brooklyn Nets have like this like just okay roster. Again, they're big. You're talking Ben Simmons that can basically be your point guard. Then on top of that, you got Mikal Bridges, you got Cam Johnson, you got Nick Claxton. Like, you could have your starting five be Spencer Dinwiddie, Ben Simmons, Mikal Bridges, Nick Claxton, and Cameron Johnson. That's ridiculous, right? You could have Spencer Dinwiddie just for, like, position's sake, have Dinwiddie at the point, have Bridges at the 2, Johnson at the 3, Simmons at the 4, and then Claxton at the 5. And you got shooting, you got defense. Basically, 1 through 5 can all switch. Right, like they can all defend multiple positions. Your shortest guy would be Dinwiddie, and he's 6'5", right, and can score the basketball. You have shooting, and if Mikal Bridges continues that just display, like Mikal Bridges really emerged for the Brooklyn Nets. Like, he went from a guy that was like, oh, he's a very good basketball player, one of the better two-way wings in this league, to like, no, this guy is an all-star at least, and he has like star potential. Like, this dude's, you know, putting up 30 points a game night in and night out. And if Cam Johnson can kind of live up to what he's capable of being and what many believe and project him to be, I mean, he's averages what, like 15 a game, with the Nets. So like, if he can be, you know, say 15 a game night with his defense, you know, you have Dinwiddie that can go get you, 15 a night. Mikal Bridges can go get you 25 a night. Ben Simmons trickles in whatever he trickles in. Nick Claxton trickles in whatever he trickles in. But you're going to be very good defensively. And then you have a great bench. You have Cam Thomas, who he can score the basketball in bunches. Dorian Finney-Smith is a great defensive 3-and-D wing. Royce O'Neal, like, you're big. You have a lot of size. They picked up, didn't the Nets pick up Lonnie Walker? He's a guy that can score in a vacuum and be a vacuum scorer for you. So I don't think you're going to have a problem scoring on the offensive end. The big problem is just how good can you be elite enough defensively to kind of make up for your lack of stars, right? Because that's what the Detroit Pistons, like the Detroit Pistons were so good defensively that they were able to make up and just out hustle and outplay to make up for the lack of star power, right? And, even like Dallas, when they won, right? Like, and what was 2011, right? Like, they didn't have a roster full of stars. They had Dirk Nowitzki, and then they had a bunch of just really good depth and rotation players. And just high IQ guys and a lot of really talented players, right? Like, Brooklyn can be that. If Mikal Bridges gets a full year where he's, a 25-point-a-game guy, and then, if you get Cameron Johnson if you can get him to like 17, 20 in that range, and then Dinwiddie again is more than capable of scoring the basketball and being a legit scorer for them. Cam Thomas, same thing, right? Dinwiddie is a guy that can go and give them, 20 a night. He's a guy that can absolutely make that impact. I mean, he averaged, 17, I believe, for Brooklyn? So you're talking about, if you just go off of the numbers last year, which you'd imagine everyone will be better this year because you have a full offseason, you have a full training camp, you have a full preseason. You have 17 points a game from Dinwiddie. Then you have 15 points a game from Cam Johnson. So right there's 32. And then you got 20 from Mikal Bridges is what he averaged, right? So then there's, 52. You could probably get 10 points from Ben Simmons a night. You probably get, 10 points a game from Nick Claxton a night. So then there's another 10 points, right? Like, and then guys like Thompson can go get you 10 to 20 on any given night. And then it's just the rest is by committee, right? Finney Smith gives you 8. Royce O'Neal gives you 8. Day'Ron Sharp looks like he could be a guy, right? Like, yeah, I really do. The biggest thing would just be consistency, right? Like, Mikal Bridges, like, the difference between a good player and a star is the consistency, right? Like, like most guys can score 20 on any given night, right? We're talking about the NBA. Right? Like, there's guys that you've never even heard of that have scored 20 points on numerous occasions, right? Like, that's not the issue. It's, can you do it night in and night out? Can you take over games and impact games? That's what the Nets lack. They don't have that guy that can take over games and night in and night out go give you just, 25 to 30 points a night. Mikal Bridges looks like he can be that. He absolutely looks like he can be. Like I said, I mean, he was putting up 21 night, 35 the next night, 35 again, 30 again. Like, the dude was killing it offensively. Absolutely killing it offensively. But can he do that night in and night out over the course of a regular season? If he can, then I really think the Nets could be scary, right? I mean, again, for Brooklyn, he played 27 games for them, averaged 34 minutes, and averaged 26 points. 26 points, 4.5 rebounds, and 3 assists. If he can do that for an entire season, which he did it for a quarter of the season, but again, a quarter of the season is not a full season. He did it for a quarter of the season. If he can continue to do that for an entirety of a season, then I really do think Brooklyn could be a dark horse. That doesn't mean that they're going to win the championship or anything like that, but I think that they could get into the playoffs and really surprise somebody, right? Like, depending on what their matchup is. Like, I think that they have the size and the talent, especially with the Ben Simmons. Again, if Ben Simmons can get back to Philly Ben Simmons, you're talking about an all-star level player. Mikal Bridges is probably going to be an all-star player, right? So there's 2 all-stars right there. And then, Cam Johnson, can he get borderline? Spencer Dinwiddie, right? Like, I'm telling you, the Brooklyn Nets could be really good, really good. I wouldn't bet on them to win a championship or anything like that. But if they, I mean, look, Miami shocked the world last year. Things happen. Now, I don't think Miami would have done that if Giannis with the Bucks was healthy, Like, if Giannis doesn't get hurt, I don't think Miami wins that first round. I think they're eliminated in the first round. It's my thoughts. I'm sure Miami fans feel otherwise, but Giannis changes that series. And you can't tell me he doesn't. He's the best player in the world, right? Or arguably the best player in the world. So right then and there, you don't get through that. But stuff happens. Circumstances happen. Toronto Raptors won a championship because circumstances and stuff happens. Right? Toronto wasn't beating the Golden State Warriors unless Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson both just shattered their bodies, right? Tear their Achilles and stuff. But sometimes things just fall your way. Sometimes a team gets hot, right? That's what Miami did. They got really hot at the right time. They lost their first play-in game. And then they ended up making the NBA Finals, and they ran into a Nuggets team that was far better than them. But, if the Nets get that cohesiveness, I think they're going to be one of the best defensive teams in the league. And if they're like top 5 defense, I think that they'll have a good enough offense to compete, right? I do. I think that they'll have more than enough offense to compete. But they're going to have to get it done on the defensive end. Like, they're going to have to really hang their hat on the defensive side. Because they have the length, the size, the switchability, and then they have guys off the bench that can come in and provide the same thing. So, I like it. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? Do you think the Brooklyn Nets could be a dark horse? Do you think, they just don't have enough? They don't have enough talent, enough on the roster? Do you think Mikal Bridges will be an all-star this year? How do you feel? Whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it, so let me know down in the comments below.